imagine you're sitting in your seat on a plane. You're watching a movie, the Beekeeper with Jason Statham. You're just getting deep into a plane film. All of a sudden, a pilot gets on the plane, shroomed out as fuck on the intercom system, and he's like sweating. He's like, guys, there's ants crawling inside
of me. You can hear like the Grateful Dead in the background. Or like fish.
Yeah, guys. I'm blasting fish because I'm trying to get these insects out from inside my skin. I'm going to shut the engines off, and I think in the nosedive, we're going to tip the plane back up. The fire's inside of my mind. I don't know what's going on. And you're just sitting there watching. You're just like, oh, I'm going to die. My pilot is just so far gone. Let's do it. Welcome back to Breaking Takes, everyone.
Hello.
Episode 50.
50.
I don't know if
kind of crazy.
I was thinking about the earlier episodes today, recording about Prince Charles's fingers.
That was the first one
for the OGs. Right? It was top 5 for sure, like one of the first 5 episodes.
Okay.
And we've gone all the way from Prince Charles to, McCamey Manor, people getting tortured in there.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Like just all over the news. Just bring you guys the most important stories of our time through the most just wise eyes of our generation through us two. And it's been such a ride. I cannot believe this is episode 50.
I know.
It flies by, but I am just so grateful, and it's been such a fun ride, Sam. And thank you for taking this ride with me.
Yeah, of course. It's been a blast. You know what? You're like my real friend now.
Yeah, I was going to say, right around episode 47, I thought, if Sam called me and it was not after 5 p.m. and she said, I'm being brutally attacked in an alley.
You might answer.
In Park Slope. I would answer, but
now,
any further, if you were like,
gotcha.
if you were like, I'm in Williamsburg, I'd be like, well,
sorry,
shit out of luck.
Sorry about it.
No, but I would, if you called me at 2 a.m. and you said, I'm in an alley in Harlem, I'm on hallucinogenics, I think I've been drugged.
Oh my God.
I'm seeing demons. I'm not sure who's real and who's not, but I need you to come right now.
Day.
I would check the F to see if I could save some Uber dollars first. But if it was more than like 10 minutes more on the F, I would drop the $55 on the Uber.
I'd probably be dead.
Go up to Harlem, swaddle you in a,
it would take so long.
Just swaddle you like a large baby and carry you out of the alley.
Aw, my hero. Wow. No, it's been great. It's been fun. I feel like in the beginning we were just getting to know each other. Now I'm like, you know what? Kind of like that guy. Like he's okay. He's a decent guy. What
would you say is the most unexpected thing that you've learned about me over the past 50 episodes?
Unexpected thing. Well, I mean,
or just a surprising thing.
Well, the fact that you trial your semen was really up there. That was recent, but
the chef's got to taste his creations.
That was crazy.
Once in a blue moon.
That's probably the craziest thing. But I just think in general, it's been good because I don't feel like I have a lot of like straight male friends.
Yeah.
Just growing up, I mean, my best friend's a gay man and I hung out with women. So, when we first started this podcast, I was a little bit apprehensive. Yeah. Because I'm like, oh, God, one of those?
Yeah.
That's scary.
Well, I'm honored to be the straight friend.
Yeah. Now you're like a real friend. I'm like, he's not that bad.
Yeah.
He's okay.
Yeah. Decent at best. But I would, the most surprising thing I would say, it's not one thing, but I'm more surprised at how similar we become over time. Like the more I learn about things that are going on in your life, I'm like, wow, I really relate a lot to like the Northeast Baltimore lesbian community. I can relate to, not that you represent like all of Northeast
I do,
lesbians, that
yeah.
you have like, you're in charge
Sorry.
of you're in charge of like the Baltimore lesbian Facebook group.
I'm the mayor
You're like,
of Baltimore lesbians.
Yeah, you're like, this is our takes this week. If anyone has a Northeast lesbian, this is how you have to think. But I'm more and more surprised at how like things that we do similar, whether it's the ways that we dress, just like certain, just modes of eating pussy, getting after it, wearing chain necklaces, things that we can bond over as a straight man and a lesbian, and it's just been such a good time.
It's been beautiful, and I hope our listeners are going through that with us. And they're like, this is just so beautiful, this story, and I hope it encourages them to make friends with people that maybe they thought were different.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like we're also breaking down barriers, because the stereotype has always been, like, every single movie you see the woman that's friends with the gay guy, but there's never been a movie where a straight guy is friends with a lesbian.
Which seems silly. It does seem that we would have stuff in common. Like most lesbians, it's like we like sports, drinking beer, women, we like to drive cars. I mean, that's
you're a real man.
I mean,
you do all the things I wish I could.
So it seems like we would have stuff in common. So I want to keep shining a light on that. So we're healing the world as usual.
We're just busting through stereotypes, and this is a non-lesbian activity, but you said that you watched the hot dog eating contest recently.
Yeah, I did. So I don't even remember. It's been a few months since the news broke. Well, I guess back in like July, before the Joey Chestnut, Kobayashi, all that drama went down with the hot dog eating
controversy,
contest on Coney Island. And then it came out that like Joey Chestnut wasn't going to be there. I don't even know who was there. I don't think anybody watched it.
It was such a big controversy and a big news story that it got picked up by Breaking Takes. That's how big of a story it was. We recorded an episode about it.
Absolutely. And so then it came out that Joey Chestnut was going to have a rematch against Japan's Kobayashi on Netflix, a Netflix special called Unfinished Beef for Labor Day. So I watched it. I didn't watch it live, so I wouldn't have caught anything that maybe they edited out. But I don't think they really needed to do much editing. So anyways, I watched it, and I'm going to give a little review. So spoiler alerts, people. I mean, if you don't want to know, you should stop right now, go watch it, and come back.
You've had 2 months. It's long enough to indulge in the hot dog essence from July 4th.
Well, but the contest just happened on Monday.
Oh yeah, you're right. I kept thinking July 4th. So
so they didn't do it then.
Okay. Well,
so Joey Chestnut said, no, I'm not going to Coney Island. Because there was all that drama about endorsements, and he was working with like a vegan hot dog company, and
Joey Chestnut was.
Yeah, and Kobayashi a long time ago, years ago, had this issue, and that's why he wasn't at Coney Island anymore. Joey Chestnut went with this, and so then Netflix was genius and was like, let me take like the top 2 legends of hot dog eating and have them do a Netflix special.
Yeah.
Sounded great. So then I watched the Netflix special. First of all, there was a little bit of like sidebar drama because are you familiar?
Side dog drama?
Yeah, side dog drama.
Yeah.
Are you familiar? Did you ever watch WWE? I feel like you did growing
WWF,
up.
WWE. I was like big at Hardy Boys, Undertaker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you familiar with the Bella twins?
The Bella
Nikki
twins.
and Brie Bella.
It sounds familiar. I'm sure I'd recognize them.
So Nikki for a long time was dating John Cena. Now she's not. She's married to a guy named like Artem something, who is one of the dancers on Dancing with the Stars, or at least was.
Yeah.
And Brie is married to like Bryan Danielson, who's a pretty good wrestler too. I might have that name wrong, honestly.
She was trying to date John Cena, but she just couldn't see him. So she was like, I can't date a guy I can't see.
Yeah, they split because like I think she wanted a family, and John Cena is just John Cena. I mean, you can't.
He's
Can
an
you imagine
He's
a
an
little
Avenger.
John Cena?
I could. It's
It's like a little Hulk baby.
it's a baby face with the body of John
That's
Cena.
what I'm
Yeah.
imagining, actually. So anyways, there was a little bit of side dog drama because literally like the night or two before the competition, Nikki, who was the host of the hot dog eating contest, she was the MC, the host. There was a few other MCs. Also, like all of them were from WWE.
Yeah.
So I don't know why there was a hot dog eating contest, WWE, like veteran retiree crossover. I'm not sure.
So Nikki was the host of the hot dog.
Yes, Nikki was the host. There was a little bit of drama because she was in a domestic violence issue like the night before this hot dog eating contest.
Her boyfriend opened a package of hot dogs and just started beating her with it before the contest.
I don't know. I mean, maybe could be a lot of conspiracy theories. They've kept it under wraps. So she's married to the Artem something. His last name is like Russian or something. But he's a dancer. They've been married. They have one son together. And some domestic violence thing happened where like he called the police on her, but then like obviously she must have been like, bitch, I literally have like bruises and like you hit me in the face, so they're gonna arrest you.
She's just fucking pounding him, and he's on the phone
Also,
with the police, like with a hot dog, like get this bitch off of me. Yeah,
she probably could beat him up.
And he's a dancer. I'm imagining her with like a hot dog strap
she's
on,
about
just
to jump
pillaging
off
him.
the mattress, like body slam him.
And he's he just has a hot dog. He's like, get away, bitch, get off me, bitch.
Yeah. So anyways, so then he calls the police on her, being like, oh, she like threw a shoe at my head. But then she must have been like, you're dumb. I literally have marks that you like attacked me. So then he tried to call them back and be like, never mind.
Yeah.
But they showed up anyways and arrested him for like felony domestic violence. So this is actually kind of not related, but it was just interesting to me that then
just a wholesome backstory.
Yeah, just a wholesome backstory, you know, just a little something that went down Sunday, and then you got to go to work on Monday to the hot dog eating contest.
Just a side note, I feel like Netflix missed an opportunity to have Nikki Glazer host the hot dog eating contest, because like Glazer.
That would have been great, and she would have been so
Glizzy.
funny. She would have been so funny. It would have made it so much better. But so anyways, Nikki Bella, that's Bella twins, she did show up and do her job. She was not wearing her wedding ring, so it's going down. They're splitting up. But so the entire thing was like an hour long. There were multiple. It wasn't just hot dogs. Hot dogs was the big finale.
Yeah.
So there was a chicken wing eating contest as well, which I found very alarming because I'm just surprised like nobody has died. You know, like can you imagine eating?
Was it boneless though?
No.
Or was it legit?
No, it was like legit traditional bone-in wings, which was scary to me because I'm like, you're trying to eat all these wings, but like chicken wing bones are pretty thin.
Yeah.
It's a wonder it didn't like get stuck in someone's throat.
Yeah.
And they just died from trying to eat chicken wings.
Also, I feel like that would be the hardest contest to judge, because
how do you clear it?
Yeah, like what is considered, do you have to, because you can't just totally clear a bone on the spot. There's going to be some left on it. So then you're going to have some guys that are just doing a half-assed job. Other guys are going to clear. So like,
I think it was girls facing off on that one. I could have this wrong because honestly, I did watch it at my mom's and I was like tuning in and out, and I really only fully focused on the hot dog eating one. But I was just,
you were locked in.
I was locked in. Like me, my mom, and my stepdad, we were all locked in, and we were also eating dinner at the time, which in some ways kind of felt strange because I'm watching these grown men like gorge themselves, and I'm like just trying to like slice my food and eat, and I'm like feeling kind of like gluttonous, like it was a lot of feelings, but
the energy starts to take over you and your family. 5 minutes in, your dad's just like
we're all just like trying. Suddenly we're like, who can eat the most?
Did you see any footage from the chicken wing part, or was it just
I did. We saw footage, and I've seen them like it didn't. That's the thing. So my overall review of this unfinished beef was like not that good. because I didn't understand why there was a WWE crossover.
Yeah.
I didn't like the chicken wing eating contest because of what you just mentioned. Like, it seems like a weird thing.
It seems very underwhelming because the hot dog, like, you know what's going to happen with a hot dog. The guy
They're
fucking,
shoving it in,
and then dips the bun and he goes, and then the chicken wing's more like.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
they should have did like a jalapeno eating contest.
Poppers, jalapeno poppers,
something
yeah.
like where it was going to be more exciting. Like, how much heat can they handle or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did chicken wings. It wasn't. That's why I'm like, this gets a mediocre review from me because it was just like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Unfinished Beef would be a great name for a lesbian missed connections app where you're like, damn, I had a one-night stand with this bitch, forgot her name,
some
missed her
unfinished
number. I got
beef.
some unfinished beef with this bitch.
Yes. So then it comes
Next year.
time for the hot dog eating contest. First of all, like, I remember, I think, saying it was going to be a 10-minute eating contest, which at the time when I reported that didn't seem that crazy. But then when the clock starts, you're like, that's a long ass time to be gorging yourself with hot dogs.
Oh, yeah.
Like a really long time. Like a minute seems enough, right? Surely. Because they're eating them so fast that even in a minute, like they're putting down like 15 hot dogs, you know? So 10 minutes, it's like, whoa, this is like an act of torture.
Yeah. I mean, as a guy having sex and you're just like pounding away, going 100%, you got to go in and out. Like, you can't just like do that obviously for 10 minutes straight or you're going to last for 45 seconds.
Yeah, you got to switch up.
You're like, I'm going to go hard as fuck for 45 seconds. And then I'll pretend to switch up the position, but really it's because I'm going to come. So I'll like try to make her think I'm being romantic or manly. I'll flip her over, but really I'm like, don't come down. And then I start again. Then for 10 minutes just going like, like, that's insane.
Exactly. So, and they don't stop going full speed. I'm naturally towards the end of the 10 minutes, both Chestnut and Kobayashi slowed down, of course, because I mean, just spoiler alert again, Chestnut won. He ate a world record of 83 hot dogs in 10 minutes. And Kobayashi really didn't stand a chance. He hung
83. What was the record before? I feel like it was 70 something.
Yeah, it was done by him, and
so
I think
he
it was like
crushed
75.
it then, like by 5.
Yes,
yeah.
so he crushed his own record. Kobayashi, I think, only ended up eating around like 60 some hot dogs. So he got whooped. He hung in there for like the first few minutes, and then like Chestnut just started like gaining ground, like 5 dogs, 10 dogs.
You
like,
forget about the buns too, because when I hear 83 hot dogs, I'm just thinking of the packets of hot dogs, and it's like 83 fucking buns. Like, oh my God.
And another fact was, I think in the Coney Island one, I see them like dipping the dogs in water.
Yeah, so it's just...
They were not allowed to do that. They were allowed...
That was like a PED.
So they were allowed to like stop and drink water, but they were not allowed to like take the bun and hot dog and dip in water and then eat it like they would in the Coney Island contest.
Can you imagine? Like, none of these judges grew up saying, I'm going to be the main judge for the Coney Island eating hot dog.
I want to be that.
They're all like dreaming of UFC or MLB umpire or whatever. And then you're standing there and you call a flag on a guy for dipping a hot dog in a cup. And you're like, hey, stop it. That's a wet dog right there. And then I would just be thinking, like, what is my life become?
Yeah.
But I mean, you're on Netflix, so.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, it was just crazy. So Chestnut started, he had kind of his own little trick of like, he took a sip of water and like just had water in his mouth. And so he was going to use that for like maybe the first 10 dogs or something, like just compartmentalize water in like one side of his mouth. I don't know what he was doing, but either way, I was just watching them and I'm just mostly fascinated with Chestnut because he was just like, first of all, he's a tall white dude. Kobayashi's like a smaller Japanese man. So like Chestnut just like grabs your attention because he's bigger and like, it's also interesting that, you know, he's not like an obese guy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know. I'm worried about what his internal organs look like, but
it can't be good.
It can't be good.
Yeah.
But he, like, on the outside, just looks like your everyday, average, kind of slender guy. Like,
if you take an MRI of his internal organs, it's just like a bunch of hot dogs inside his stomach, just shaped like hot dogs.
So I'm watching it, and it's going on for 10 minutes, and he ate 83 hot dogs. And they're saying, like, you know, he's trained for this. He knows how much his stomach can expand. But I'm still just like, but where the fuck are these hot dogs going? Like, where are they going in his body? I don't understand how you can fit 83 hot dogs in your gut. Like, where are they going?
Because I think it's like your stomach is a muscle. And so you can train your muscles to expand, sort of like divers. If you ever have watched like free divers talk about training, you're like taking in more and more air, and your lungs undergo crazy compressions, and then they go back to normal and you're going back to I feel like it's probably something like that, where you start with 20, 30, and then like once your stomach has done it once, it probably retains some sort of ability to go back.
Then what? Like, now he finishes the competition, and now he just has 83 hot dogs in him.
I mean, it's probably the worst night of sleep.
Does he not eat for 3 days after that? Or does he just sit on the toilet for 12 hours and take laxatives? Like, what is he doing? You can't just leave 83 hot dogs in you and then move on with your life.
So is there a judge that keeps you from throwing up within a certain amount of time? Because obviously the easiest thing to do would be, as soon as the 10 minutes is over, you just go, you just throw up 83 hot dogs. And I'd feel fine.
Maybe, I don't know.
You could do that.
I mean, obviously they can't, the timer doesn't go to 0 and then they are immediately like, you know, throwing up. They both had to like finish what was in their mouth. You know, they had to do the little like tongue check.
They do the shake too, right? Like they're eating and they do the shake to like
they gotta
wiggle
like shake it down like the esophagus. So they, you know, they finished everything, and then the time was up, and it was kind of like, you know, like a boxing thing where it's like, and the winner is. But then it just kind of ended. So maybe, you know, 30 minutes later, the show's over, they like go throw up. I'm not sure. I just was really fascinated by it, and I still am just unsure how any of that's possible.
You know how like sometimes fighters, like there'll be a UFC fight, and after the guys don't hate each other, and they'll just grab a beer and they're like, yeah, you do, like, I feel closer to you because we just kicked the shit out of each other. I bet you that's like Kobayashi and Joey Chestnut in the stalls next to each other after, where they're both puking and shitting their brains out, and they're like, I love you, man. I love you too. I feel so close. I probably just spit all over the screen. Did any reach you?
No, nothing hit me.
Okay. Well, that's what I imagine I just imagine saliva and spit and shit and throw up. Kobayashi, Chestnut side by side, just bonding over how much they just ate together. Like it's like you've been through a hot dog war.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely did. So, I mean, that honestly, there's not that much to review because I felt like it was really underwhelming.
Yeah.
I felt like the whole thing was underwhelming. Like they just didn't pick cool foods. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm fine with Nikki Bella. Like, she's a beautiful woman. She can MC just fine. But like, I don't know who these other people were. It just should have been, I think you were so right with like, I don't know why they did a WWE crossover. It would have been so much funnier with comedians.
Yeah.
Way better.
Yeah. I mean, you can't beat like a Kevin Hart or like Nikki, like the Tom Brady roast. If they did something in that style, but like the build up was to
it would have been so funny.
Yeah. That would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
So were Joey Chestnut or Kobayashi showmen? Like when they were eating the hot dogs, would they stop and like do stuff to the crowd, or were they just so locked in?
No, they were locked in. Like I'm telling, it was like a conveyor belt. Like, and they both kind of had different styles. Kobayashi like just seemed slower with it. I mean, I don't know. I was really focused on Chestnut because it was like, seriously, it was like a whole factory process. Like the way it was just like picks up dog, shoves dog in mouth, like chomp, chomp, chomp. And then like on to the next, you know, like it was interesting. But no, there was no stopping. There was like the commentators were saying things, but it was just like, what do you say after
Yeah.
10 minutes of them just shoving dogs
Yeah.
in their mouth?
I feel like Netflix has got to have a moment where they just bring Kobayashi and Chestnut in before the competition and they go, look, you guys are both getting paid a lot of money. The winners, you know, they're getting a bonus, but the majority of the majority of the money is coming from the appearance.
Yeah.
Let's just make this like a pro wrestling hot dog event where we have people come in and in the middle of eating a hot dog, like fucking someone comes in and tries to like choke slam you against the table, or like some sort of planned fight between Chestnut and Kobayashi where wrestlers enter it kind of like a tag team situation and they fight each other, because it's not real. It's a hot dog eating contest.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the pay is probably not going to matter who wins that much. Just like make it an event.
I think Chestnut got like $100,000
For winning.
Yeah, and like showing up. They didn't seem like they were friends, like Kobayashi and Chestnut. You know, like afterwards there was no like good game, brother. You know, there was none of that. It was like they were both kind of their own showmen, especially Chestnut.
Yeah.
Like he knew he was the GOAT. He knew there was no competition.
Yeah. I mean, the number one rule of wrestling is that you need a heel. And if you know you're the heel, you lean into it.
They do so much more. Like this was a wasted thing. The setup was great. And then it just fell kind of flat to me. But one thing, so my mom was watching it with me and she was like, you and Zach should do this. And I was like, well, that sounds like a great idea, but we would need a narrator because otherwise people would just hear us. They wouldn't hear anything.
90 minutes just.
I'm like gulping water.
Yeah, half our audience just tuned out for 5 seconds of that for 10 minutes of us.
So I'm like,
straight.
on paper sounds great, but in practice, I don't think many of our listeners would want to listen to that.
Do you know if either there's an angle that I have with this here? Is either Kobayashi or Joey Chestnut gay? Are either of them open about it? I feel like Kobayashi could have gay vibes.
I know. I'm pretty sure Joey Chestnut has a partner, right?
Kobayashi has dressed pretty effeminately in the past.
Okay, so Joey Chestnut has a long-term partner who, I don't know, maybe, I don't think she's a professional eater. Her name is Nestle Ricasa.
Nestle, she's the founder of Nestle with the
yeah,
first name.
she drinks a lot of like Yoo-hoo
the reason
drinks.
The reason I ask is if you're a gay hot dog eater professionally and you're just putting phallic things into your mouth for a living, do you get home to your partner and he's trying to freak around and he pulls down his pants and you're just like, I just can't do it today. It feels like I'm bringing my work home with me. I just can't gobble this glizzy right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to. And honestly, like I would be scared even to be the partner because I'd be like, what if they like black out and start like biting my
They have a
dick?
flashback and they go.
Yeah, they start trying to gobble it up.
Yeah, he puts a bun, just starts fucking force fucking the dick down his throat, puts some ketchup and mustard.
Oh my God.
Just getting all around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to beat your partner over the head like, wake up. This isn't Netflix.
Did you ever see that movie Teeth?
I didn't see it, but I know the concept.
movie.
I've seen scenes of it online.
Yeah. Well, that's what you just put in my mind. There's this movie Teeth for the listeners out there that I don't even, you just got to Google it, but I definitely watched it. It was one of those movies that you like heard about in high school days. And it was like, oh, you got to watch this movie. And yeah, it's just a movie about a girl who has teeth in her vagina.
Yeah.
So she like eats anything that goes in there.
Yeah.
And she just goes on like a terror of like murders. But they weren't really intentional, I think, at first.
Doesn't she purposely target guys who try to rape her? Like she'll put
Maybe.
herself in situations. I kind of remember one scene was where she was in a gas station or something, and then some guy started to take advantage of her.
Yeah.
And it was obvious that he was going to try to rape her, and she just went along with it and then just bit the guy's dick off with her pussy.
Maybe. I really wouldn't be surprised. such an interesting film.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember the thing that freaked me out is that when I looked this up, this is probably 9th or 10th grade when I saw this film, like parts of this film. And then just for shits and gigs, I was like, can you actually grow teeth in your
You
vagina?
were a little scared.
I remember there's an actual
If I
disorder
was a guy, like I might be scared. As a girl, I was like,
yeah, but there's a disorder where you can grow teeth out of
What?
parts of your body that aren't supposed to
oh
have
yeah,
it.
wait, no, that's true.
So
That's
like
true.
it's like periodontal or something,
Yes.
but let me see, can you grow
But that
teeth?
doesn't mean they have a mind of their own and they're like just chomping at the bit.
No,
you know?
but I remember just okay. In 1989, the American Journal of Forensic Medicine and Pathology reported a benign embroid tumor containing teeth growing in the wall of a woman's vagina. So
Wow.
there's like an actual disorder, and I remember reading that
You
and
were
thinking
scared.
like, I hope I never
Don't come
encounter-
across that girl.
Or like, what if a girl doesn't even know she has it? What if a girl, like, it's in the beginning stages and she tenses up and I'm like, oh my God, my dick's gone.
I think you would know as a girl that you have teeth down there.
In the beginning stages though, like when it's baby
But
teeth.
my thing is like, but are they chomping at the bit? Like, what are they doing? I thought they're not like, they don't have a jaw.
Yeah.
You know, to really like be like chomping.
I think it would be more like the
they might
contraction.
just like scratch you or something.
Like at like the peak orgasmic contraction.
Better
it would
get
be
out of
like,
there.
It would be like it gets tighter, and then if the teeth are in the wall, then boom, you
This
have
is why
pierced penis.
PSA, go to the gynecologist, ladies, because you need to know what's going on in there.
And you might have to go to a joint dental gynecologist, half dentist, half gynecologist, depending on the
gyno's
problem.
like, oh, let me call in my friend.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, it's the dentist that I go to, actually.
Yeah, it's the
The
first.
dentist comes in and is like, oh, these are really nice teeth.
Yeah.
Because dentists love to compliment you when you have like nice teeth
Mm.
or like no cavities or you have strong enamel.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, these
Yeah.
are really strong teeth. Great enamel. Good job. Good
Yeah.
job cleaning these teeth.
Yeah, how weird would that be if your gynecologist started saying that? Like, damn, look at this labia right here. This is
Right.
just, you're killing it,
Wow,
girl. Yeah. Oh my God.
That is a good one.
You got the golden clitoral ratio
Great
with
work.
these inner walls. Wow.
That is so funny because dentists do that. They're like, great work, keep it up,
Yeah.
keep it up.
I'm like,
And
I didn't
your-
do shit.
Your
I
gyno's
actually
like,
don't
great
brush.
work down there.
Yeah.
Good job. Lips look great, plump, juicy, couture, wonderful.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. I feel like that would be nice to hear. You know, if my
Yeah,
doctor saw my dick and balls and was like, "Wow." Before I get into the
Beautiful.
before I get into the prognosis, I just want to take a moment and say, what you're working with here.
It's just wonderful, magnificent.
It's I've definitely seen bigger, but the ratio of balls to head to just the angle of droopage, and he just like does that right next to my dick. Like, he's like, I just want you to know, like he just
Wow.
finished a Picasso painting
It is interesting.
and then goes right back to the gloves and just like, all right, cough.
You can't. I guess it's not transferable.
Yeah.
Like being a dentist. You can't just do the same thing as a gyno or something.
Yeah. Well, the Netflix, the contest definitely seems like it was something, it was underwhelming.
Yes, it was.
And I have something that is going to be overwhelming of the senses.
Great.
A story
let's
that
go.
involves an overwhelming of the senses to a degree
Okay.
that, was not the desirable effect.
Shit. All right.
So a U.S. pilot, and this story, the initial story actually came out a while ago, and the pilot is just speaking on this now. A U.S. pilot who took magic mushrooms and tried to cut the plane engines says his behavior was, quote, unfathomable. And I read that headline. I was like, no fucking shit. Like, what person is taking mushrooms, cutting the engines of a plane? We'll get into the details and being like, I don't think my behavior was that bad.
Yeah.
I think it was fathomable. I mean,
it is fathomable because
Yeah.
it happened.
Yeah.
But
that's true. It is like it does follow the logic of like if you took mushrooms as a pilot on a plane, that is an option that could
now
happen.
was this a passenger plane, a cargo plane?
It was
a
an
small
Alaskan
plane?
Airlines commercial
Oh,
jetliner.
great! So a passenger plane.
Oh yeah,
Gotcha.
passenger plane for sure. There were like 80 something people on board. So an Alaska Airlines pilot who attempted to shut off the engines of a passenger plane mid-flight after ingesting magic mushrooms said his actions were, quote, unfathomable in some of his first public remarks after he was indicted for 83 counts of reckless endangerment for each passenger on the plane. And the first thing that I was thinking of when I heard when I was reading the story is like, imagine you're sitting in your seat on a plane. You're watching a movie. The Beekeeper with Jason Statham. You're just getting deep into a plane film, and then all of a sudden, a pilot gets on the plane, shroomed out as fuck on the intercom system, and he's like sweating. He's like, guys, there's ants crawling inside
hear
of me.
like the Grateful Dead in the background,
Yeah.
or like fish.
Yeah, guys, I'm blasting fish because I'm trying to get these insects out from inside my skin. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? He's like, all right, I'm going to shut the engines off. And I think in the nosedive, we're going to tip the plane back up. The fire's inside of my mind. I don't know what's going on. And you're just sitting there watching. You're just like, oh, I'm going to die. My pilot is just so far gone.
I get the appeal. I get the temptation to want to do mushrooms and fly a plane.
Yeah.
Right? Because like you do mushrooms and everything just kind of moves, right? Like the plants, the tree, like everything is so
the ground is getting
beautiful.
closer and closer to your face in the nosedive.
Yeah, so you might be like, wow, I wonder what like these clouds and the sky like looks like on mushrooms.
Yeah.
So I get the temptation.
Yeah.
But, perhaps think a little bit further.
Yeah. I mean, right before you either crash into the ocean and die or you just take out a sea of people on the ground, it's got to be like if you're in a mushroom trip and it doesn't sound like this was a positive trip because the cops trying to cut the engines, but and we'll get into the details, but like if you're just floating through the sky and mushrooms are going well, it sounds like it could be an unbelievable experience of just you're looking at maybe the sun is setting over the horizon.
Beautiful.
Maybe, you see the clouds and they're starting to make different shapes. You think of all the passengers connected and you're like, what even is a plane if not a thing that's just connecting human beings?
I don't know if I
And
want
then all of a
my
sudden-
pilot being like, what even is a plane?
Yeah, and then the dark thoughts start taking over. You're like, oh my God, we're 30,000 feet in the air.
Yeah.
What is a plane? What is holding us up? And you look at the engine
Look at all
lever.
these buttons.
Yeah, I could just press any one of these. They're all making one big button saying press me, and then you start looking at the engine lever, and then you get on the intercom and you start talking about bugs crawling in your eyes, and then all the passengers start screaming and people, the pilot's just holding you down, and you're like, you don't understand, he's coming for us, and the pilot's like, shut the fuck, like you'd have to just be like strapped to the seat. It says in an interview with ABC's Good Morning America, Joseph Emerson described the events of the 22nd of October as, quote, 30 seconds of my life that I wish I could change and I can't. Emerson, who is an off-duty pilot, was authorized to ride in the cockpit's jump seat and tried to disable the plane's engine by deploying the fire suppression system. So basically, like when a plane is on fire, and most of the time it's like if it's a landing thing, you're already on the ground, you cut the engine so like no more gas and shit could feed the fire. This guy tried to pull that 30,000 feet in the air.
Not good.
On mushrooms.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Would that, I guess, cause I mean, I don't really know how planes work.
Yeah,
Would that
and
cause
neither
the
does this
plane
guy.
to like plummet, or would it be like a slow? I guess it depends on how you're steering it and like just also the environment. Like,
Yeah.
would it cause an immediate plummet, or would it cause like if he's just cruising, you're just like slowly?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know enough about it to know what would have happened if he did it. But I think it's like the way that they describe it in the article, because it would have been like a catastrophic thing. It's almost like if your brakes go out on the highway, and you pull the emergency brake, it completely destroys your fucking car. But like that's your only option at that point, is just pulling back on the lever, and your engine, your suspension is just fucked. I think it's similar to that, where like you could be okay and maybe you would glide down, but like if you're not in a place where you can do that, you're fucked, because the engines aren't coming
either
back
way,
on.
You could be like over the ocean, or doesn't sound like he was just like over the airport, you know?
No, was not over the airport. Could you imagine being the main pilot? You're driving, you're in the cockpit, you're probably sipping on a coffee on autopilot, and then all of a sudden you see the pilot behind you just starting to like fucking fidget with shit, and he starts, saying things like, damn, this cockpit's really moving, like these shapes are wild. And you're like, what the fuck?
Take mushrooms? Because also, so the effect of mushrooms kick in within like 30 minutes to like a couple hours depending on the person. So this person consciously took mushrooms knowing that they were gonna fly a plane.
And the main pilot had to just be like, I imagine he was just like fighting this dude off in autopilot, basically like wrestling. Like you're wrestling a dude in the cockpit to try not to kill 83
Where's
people.
the marshal when you need him?
Probably didn't know yet. If he's sitting in the actual plane, the beginning stages of a shroomed out pilot is just the responsibility of the other pilot until he gets on the intercom and is like, this dude's gonna this dude's a shroom terrorist. He turned into a terrorist on the plane. And I guess you have to make, like, you know how if someone has a heart attack on the plane, they'll make an announcement and say, hey, this guy is palpitating in the third row. Are there any doctors on board? This pilot had to get on the intercom, the pilot who wasn't shroomed out, and be like, hey guys, no, don't want anyone to freak out, but our co-pilot is currently shroomed out. And are there any shamans on board? Does anyone happen to be an Amazonian shaman that could ride this guy out?
We need to expel this demon.
My co-pilot is currently fighting dragons in the cockpit and trying to shut off both engines of the plane. Any shamanic influencers on board?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it says after his arrest in Oregon on state counts of attempted murder, Emerson told police he believed he was having a nervous breakdown.
Sounds like it.
Thought he was dreaming when he pulled fire handles in the cockpit, and said he experimented with psychedelic mushrooms as his mental health had worsened. Emerson had said he also took psychedelic mushrooms 2 days earlier while commemorating the death of his best friend, thinking they would help for his depression. So
maybe he had a successful time 2 days before.
Yeah.
He felt great, and then was like, there's no way this could go wrong.
Yeah. But also, like, taking shrooms 2 days after my friend dies, I feel like that would just be asking for the dark gates to open up in my mind.
I'm not taking shrooms like when I'm having bad vibes.
Yeah. Anytime I've ever been on, anything above a decent microdose of shrooms, I've always been in a good place. And I ask myself, what's the shit that could creep up right now?
Yes.
And I have a really honest moment where I'm like, this happened, and this is probably because the things that you think in that moment are gonna be the things that pop up. And if my best friend just fucking passed away 2 days ago,
you're gonna be crying.
I'm gonna curl up into a ball and like be talking to my dead best friend in front of me.
Yeah, exactly.
But this guy might have been pulling the fire engines because his friend was like, do you want to come see me in the afterlife? Come fucking pull the engines.
Bud.
I'm so close. All you got to do is pull those 2 levers right there. And he's like, really? Yeah, that's all I have to do to see you. And the pilot's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that is so crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's
But the people lived. So this didn't happen. Like the pilot, I guess.
He got restrained. Okay. So let's see what it says down here. Okay, the crew was able to subdue Emerson and remove him from the flight deck. But even as the plane descended, he tried to grab another lever operating the cabin door.
Goodness.
According to an affidavit, Emerson, the guy on shrooms, warned the flight attendant, "You need to cut me off right now or it's going to be bad." He sounds like a guy at a bar. He sounds like a guy at a bar at his like 17. Yeah. He sounds like a guy sitting at a stool at some dive bar in his 11th whiskey going like,
"You better cut me off.
You gotta cut me off right now." And the bartender's like, "All right, buddy. Just lie down in that booth over there."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so that he took shrooms 2 days after his best friend died, freaked out on the plane, almost brought the plane down, almost opened the cabin door, essentially became a terrorist on the plane. But he isn't being treated like a terrorist because it was a psychedelic incident. And I realized that if you let's say, and I'm not giving advice for terrorists on planes. Never. Because that would your
they
pieces
have
of
a
shit.
history of doing a pretty decent job on their own.
They had one bullseye, and the other, there was like the shoe bomber guy who they caught like with the bomb in his shoe, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And it didn't go off; it just started smoking. But like, if you're a terrorist and you are plotting to take out a plane full of people, now you know that shrooms would be a good excuse if you get caught. You could just be like, "I don't know, I was sorry, I attacked the cockpit. I took some psychedelics and I just, I started seeing flames out the window and I thought we were on a plane ride to hell." And the stewardesses would just, you'd get strapped in a seat, the fire marshal would watch you, and then you'd get let off the plane into, a psych ward somewhere.
Maybe that only works if you're white though.
Yeah, I don't know what color this guy was.
I'm just guessing though.
If you look like a terrorist,
if you're wearing a turban, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, but if you're, if you don't look the part, it's like a good out to have in general. If you get yourself in a sticky situation, is like, "Oh, sorry, like if you wake up the next morning, you're like, "I took some bad shrooms, I was tripping out," like, because everyone feels the anxiety of being on a bad trip, and you start to feel empathy for the person, even though he just almost killed 83 people. You're like, I've been there where you get too fucking high.
I would be so mad if I died and then like, I'm like in the afterlife. I'm like, "Okay, I died of a plane crash. Like, give me more details. Like, what happened?" They're like, "Oh, that guy over there actually like took some mushrooms before and then was just like seeing shit and crashed the plane." I would be so annoyed. Yeah. I'd be like,
I'd almost want a terrorist attack at that point.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Like, what a fucked up way to go. Yeah. And I'd be like, "And you didn't share the mushrooms either?" Yeah,
I'd be going
what
through
the hell.
If the shroom guy was tied down in the front of the plane, I'd be digging through his pockets as we're just spiraling to the ground. I'm not fucking dying sober. I'm washing him down with Jack Daniels bottles. Yeah, just taking his stash. Yeah, at that point, if we were gonna nosedive and the stewardess was like, "Shrooms, like he's freaking out on shrooms," I'd be like, if this was a terrorist attack, at least you would be like, "All right, like, this is
crazy. It took years of plotting, probably."
Yeah, years of plotting.
And you're just like at the wrong. I mean, either way, you're at the wrong place at the wrong time. It sucks.
Guys, you could have a hero moment where you talk to the people next to you and you're like, "Yo, we're gonna fucking kill these dudes," right? And you're just like, "We're gonna die anyway," and you go up and you rush the terrorists.
Yeah, you could prevent them from like crashing into the White House. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You could do something.
Yeah, and then you have to deal with the black box. The plane crashes, the black box gets recovered, and then FBI is listening to it, Homeland Security, and they're like, "Damn, I wonder what the terrorist attack was that took this plane out."
Nothing. It's just a dude listening to fish.
And it's just some dude that's like, "I'm bleeding out of my eyes. I'm gonna pull the lever. I'm on 14 grams, way too much." And the Homeland Security guys are just like, fucking pussy. Like this pussy took out an entire plane. Like it's not even a cool story.
It's so concerning to me that like that happens. Like it seems like a lot of pilots these days are doing some weird shit.
Yeah.
You don't know until you're up there.
Yeah. Do you think, because like this guy, they were able to strap this guy in and incapacitate him. And they're obviously like 9/11, like they weren't able to do that. It was a bunch of dudes, and they rushed the cockpit, and they took fucking 3,000 people out. It was fucking one of the most tragic things to ever happen to humanity. Like the scale of this terrorist attack. Do you think that if there was an emergency shroom spray that the pilot could put like a button and the whole cabin would just flood with shroom spray, do you think that could have stopped 9/11? Like the whole cockpit would be fine. The cockpit would be fine, but the whole cabin, you'd just be like, they're just going to trip balls off. Like wouldn't know which way was what. The fire marshal has a gas mask.
I mean, maybe
thing.
not, because the story you're telling right now is like, it seems like they might just want to end everything. Like he wanted to kill.
But he was
everybody.
in the cockpit to begin with. Yeah. I'm saying like if the terrorists were outside the cockpit.
But either way, if they're doing shrooms, like he was, and he wanted to end everything, maybe it would be the same effect. Like they would still do the same thing.
Or maybe the terrorists have a coming to Jesus moment where they're looking around and everyone's freaking out on shrooms, and they go, you know what? We're one. We're connected. I don't need to do this. Or it could be the complete opposite direction where they're like, I'm so sure of myself now. That's never,
what I fear.
There's never been. I was on the fence about committing this attack, and now I'm fully into it.
Because these people that do stuff like that, like terrorists, they really do think that they're doing like what is right by like their country and their God and whatever. Like, so I just feel like they would be like even more gung-ho about it.
Yeah. They were like, honestly, one of the guys is like, I was thinking about stopping my friends from doing this, but now that I'm on shrooms, it's clear to me.
It's clear that I must.
Now I can see the virgins waiting for me in heaven, and I've never felt closer to God.
Yeah.
I guess we'd have to just trap a terrorist cell and then give them ayahuasca and perform an experiment and see like if they come out of it and they're like, guys, I feel closer to people,
That's
we
what
have to protect humanity. Or if they come out of it and they're like, I've planned so many terrorist attacks during that trip.
They might be doing stuff like that. I mean, they were doing back in the day, they did like MK Ultra and stuff. Like they might be, we don't know. We do not know what like the government and FBI and Secret Service and all these fucking like compartments of the government are doing. I don't know. There's weird shit going on out there.
Yeah. Imagine that's like your first assignment as an agent in the CIA, where they're just like, all right, listen, you're off the desk. What you're going to do, we're sending you to the Middle East. And you're like, all right, like I'm going to stop some terrorist plot. I'm going to be on the ground for some war. And you're like, the officer's like, we're going to send you to the Middle East. You're going to find a group of terrorists, and you're like, and we're going to take them out. And he's like, no, you're going to infiltrate their terror cell as an ayahuasca shaman, and you're going to give them massive amounts of psychedelics.
See what happens.
And then you're just going to sit there with a notebook and see when they start screaming and crying. Is it peaceful stuff, or is it demonic stuff, or is it a combination?
I think that's a valid experiment that I would like to take notes on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Silence of the Lambs, right?
Yeah.
Like Jodie Foster's going to study Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
So I think this stuff happens.
Yeah. It would be, I mean, it would get you up in the morning for sure. Like
I would be curious.
you would never have a boring day.
No.
You're dosing terrorists with drugs and just recording them as a CIA shaman.
I would like that. I would like that job.
Yeah. So that's basically what happened to this guy.
That's just to wrap that up.
He's in a just to wrap that up. Speaking of terrorists being dosed with ayahuasca, this guy's probably being dosed with psychedelic medication, straitjacketed in an institution somewhere for trying to take a plane full of people out. I did want to say just one last thing on this. I had a skydiving instructor when I did it over the Grand Canyon.
Wait, you skydived?
I was
over the Grand Canyon.
Over the Grand Canyon, yes.
And you landed in the canyon?
It was next to the canyon.
Okay.
So it feels like you're over it because it's so fucking big, but you're actually close to the ridge.
Well, and also like when I've watched videos of people skydiving, like one thing that does fascinate me is so I've watched videos of like professional skydivers. Yeah. So when they're free, like they're on their own and they might jump with like a couple buddies, but everyone's like their single person. Yeah. And they kind of like, they're falling through the air and they somehow like link up and like hold hands sometimes. And then
like
they'll
in
like
Point Break with Keanu Reeves.
And then they'll like flip off of each other and
doing
like
cool
backflip. And then they're like over there. And I'm kind of just like, but how do you know like where you're going?
Yeah.
How do you steer? Like, are you like a flying squirrel all of a sudden?
Yeah.
How do you steer where the fuck you're going when you jump out of the plane?
And then it's like a movie scene where one of them realizes they don't have a parachute.
And then you're like,
and then he has to find one of the guys. And then somehow you hear what everyone is saying, even though you're falling 180 miles. Like literally, I could barely hear the skydiving instructor in my ear.
Yeah, because there's so much
It just
wind.
sounds like And so I was strapped to my instructor, did it over the Grand Canyon. And then after the skydive was over, he told me, because we took a bus, back to the parking place. And he was like, yeah, most skydiving accidents happen solo. There's rarely anything that happens tandem.
Tandem as in when you're like strapped together.
Yeah, exactly what I did. And then and I'm thinking he's going to go into like, all the, that's why I'm really safe. I'm extra safe when I do it solo. But my instructor proceeds to tell me all of the drugs that he's been solo skydiving on.
Whoa.
Shrooms, fucking weed.
Wow.
Beer. Fucking yeah, but like drinking, but like he's been on like skydiving on psychedelics, and obviously he's fine, and he says doing it is one of the most crazy existential experiences you could have is skydiving on shrooms. And I'm not recommending it, but this is just what he's telling me. And part of me hearing that story made me think that this pilot is a pussy because he's on shrooms in a cockpit in the safety of a plane, freaking out. This guy, my instructor's looking out the fucking window of the rickety propeller planes that they bring you up on on 2 grams of shrooms, and he's like, all right, fuck it, and he's just going out the plane and he's fine. That's crazy.
So wait, so you landed and you're obviously here today, so you didn't die.
Yeah, unless the whole thing has been a simulation.
So when did you do that? How old were you? Like a couple years ago, or like 5 years ago?
3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, would you do it again, or you're like actually
I told my brothers if they want to do it. There's a couple places on Long Island. I said 100%. I think it's more fun when you're doing it with other people. Mm-hmm. But my advice would be the first one out of the plane.
Yeah.
Because I went. Did I go first or second? Now I'm blanking out. I'm pretty sure I went first in the plane when I was skydiving, mm-hmm. and then my girlfriend told me after, because she was the other one in the plane with me.
She was like, never mind.
Strapped to someone else. But no, seriously, like she was like, I saw you go out of the plane. And you think that you would drop because it's a skydive. You just see the person go out of the window and go,
Yeah, you like zip that way.
It looks like you get sucked into the propeller.
Yeah.
So if I had to see that before I went out of the plane, I'd be like, fuck. Like, I would have been way more nervous.
Wow.
So go first if you go skydiving, if you've never done it before. So you don't have to see your friends getting sucked out of the plane.
I think I could be convinced, but as I get older, it's like the less likely I feel like I'm going to do it, because the more anxious I've become about like, that seems dumb. Like, I want to live, you know what I mean? Like, I like being alive.
Yeah.
So like, you know, why put my chances of dying up higher by jumping out of a plane?
You do. So, I mean, a lot of people will say, you know, skydiving it changes your life, like shit like that.
Does it? I don't think so.
No, it doesn't. But what it does do is it gives you such an adrenaline rush, and it gives you such a freeing moment.
Yeah.
Where if you do scarier things in the future, you have something to compare to that you've already done. So like when I went ziplining in Costa Rica, that freaked me the fuck out.
Really? I like ziplining.
I get freaked out just like things being in the air. And before we were doing it, I was like, I fucking jumped out of a plane 10,000 feet in the air. You know, who cares if I'm 120 feet in the air on a zip line? And that sort of like having that baseline of having done
Makes
it
sense.
and lived through it gives you a bar that you can compare other shit to.
I feel that way with like the surgery I had. I'm like, I'm tough. Like, I did this, you know, I've experienced like pain and scary stuff. Like, so now, because I used to be afraid of like, I was afraid of doctors, kind of. They gave me a lot of anxiety. I will pass out if I like see a lot of blood, and I like can't look at needles. Now I'm just like, honestly, like I've done this stuff before. Like, I'll be fine. So I can get that. I kind of get that.
Yeah, I think you would enjoy it. You seem
I think
like
I would. Like, if my friends were like, "Oh, I have an extra ticket. Like, do you want to go?" I would go.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I'm gonna like book myself. Maybe I will. As you know, off air, I've been going through a lot of changes in my life recently. Yeah. So maybe I need to do something crazy.
So you're saying
maybe I need to do shrooms and jump out of a plane.
Let's start with a sober one first, and then we can ask.
All right.
We can, you know, whatever. Fuck it. If we do it, I think a small dose of shrooms would be fine. If you're
meanwhile, I've like never done shrooms, so I don't think my first time doing shrooms should be me jumping out of a plane.
Yeah. Then you start pulling the emergency lever. You start strangling the pilot, like, get me fucking down from here. And then you're just fucking.
Yeah.
So are you saying if you, like, let's say 6 months from now, I called you and I said, hey, we're booked to go skydiving tomorrow on Long Island, and you were in the area,
I would go.
Would you say, all right, fuck it, we're going?
Yeah, that is one way to like always kind of get me to do things, is like, I, as a Libra, am a little bit indecisive, and I will float around a decision for a long time and be like, I don't know. But then when somebody's just like, we're doing it, I bought it, let's go. I'm like, all right, so like the decision's been made for me.
So if someone was like, you have to go skydiving, but it's 6 months from now or I'll kill your family, you'd be like, it's giving me a lot of time to think.
Yeah,
like, maybe,
let me think about it, actually.
But if it was tomorrow, you'd be like, all right, I'll do it.
I'm like thinking, I'm like weighing out like life insurance policies. I'm like, let me like weigh out the pros and cons of this.
How much would I get if my mom died but my dad survived, vice versa? let me figure out all the shit that goes into it.
Yeah, I would weigh it out. I weigh out all my decisions.
Yeah. So what are you getting into this week?
Well, speaking of flights, there's another flight that didn't go so well, and that would be the spaceship that is like in outer space still with two American astronauts. Yeah. Yep. So there are two American astronauts, Miss Suni Williams and Mr. Butch Wilmore, are like stranded in space. And NASA and like Boeing and all these companies keep being like, oh, they're not stranded.
Yeah. They just have no way of exiting
They're
the current
just like
situation.
not able to come back right now.
Yeah.
Like they keep insisting that they're not stranded.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, then why are they still there?
Yeah.
Because I don't think they want to be there.
Yeah. It's like he's not stranded on the deserted island. He's just, he has no way of transportation to get back should he choose to leave.
Yeah, exactly. So, of course, it makes sense why they're stranded because they took a Boeing Starling ship to outer space, which also, like, I didn't really know that Boeing. I mean, we know Boeing
SpaceX or Boeing Starlink or
Starling.
Oh, Starling. Okay.
So totally separated from
not SpaceX.
Elon's
Okay.
SpaceX. This is a Boeing spaceship.
Gotcha.
Which I didn't know Boeing made spaceships. And you would think with all the news coming out with all the airplanes, they should probably just cancel them.
Like, let's figure out the planes first before we start launching the rockets.
Yeah. So they left, like they've been stuck in space for a few months now. And the original trip was supposed to be a 9-day mission in total, like going up and coming back down.
Yeah.
So literally like a week and a half mission has turned into months that they're just floating around up there. So basically Boeing says like they're fine. And if they wanted to come back, they could.
They're fine. Stop freaking out. They have tubes of that toothpaste food. They've got at least like 3 more weeks of that. Yeah.
So apparently helium leaks and propulsion problems left them stuck at the International Space Station. I'm not a fucking space engineer, so I don't really know what that means.
Yeah.
But clearly the astronauts themselves felt it might be too risky to return home, and they obviously are communicating with like NASA and people that are on the Earth.
Can they use the helium leak to suck in to entertain each other with
I'm
funny
sure
voices
they are.
in the meantime where they're like,
I'm
this
certain.
is crazy, I can't believe we're stuck here.
So yeah, they've been stuck in space for 3 days. During a news conference, I think like a couple Saturdays ago, the NASA administrator Bill Nelson explained that both Butch and Suni are expected to return February 2025. So they've still got a long way to go. Now they're staying even longer in space.
Yeah.
Because so Boeing is saying like they could come back if they wanted to. NASA is like, I'm sure reading a lot of these airplane stories and are like, we wouldn't fucking believe you.
Yeah.
Christ. Like you just had your whistleblower murdered.
Yeah.
Like we're not believing you.
So Boeing's telling them
Boeing says
you can
like
come back whenever.
Yeah, Boeing is literally saying that they could come back. Like that sure it might be risky. They don't think that what issues are going on are risky enough that they couldn't return home.
Yeah.
But clearly NASA
And NASA's
thinks
saying
otherwise.
February 2025. I feel like that's like if you go to a shitty doctor and they're like, oh, you've got years to live. Like, don't worry about that ball in your nutsack. You're fine. And then
You're
you go to an
fine.
actual doctor and
It's
he's
like,
like,
"That's cancer."
Oh, no, that's stage 3 testicular cancer.
Yes.
You have 6 months to get this out.
Yes.
It's like the timelines are just so vastly different.
Yes. So what's going to happen is basically NASA decided like, fuck this spaceship. So these 2 astronauts are still on that spaceship, the Boeing spaceship, at the International Space Station. So they're like docked. Still, International Space Station is still. It's not like it's an island in space. It's like they just dock the ship and then they live like on the ship basically. And, they can suit up and like go out into the universe. But, it's not like it's a all-inclusive resort they're at.
Yeah. NASA should send them a bag of shrooms just to enjoy the time up
How
there.
long
Just
would it take to get
trip
there?
out floating through space with nowhere to go? I
Who
feel like that could
knows
be
what
good.
they have like on? I'm sure. I mean,
Send them up some good drugs in the meantime.
I would hope they had something, but I unfortunately don't think they do. And so anyways, now SpaceX, Elon's SpaceX a ship is going up That's why it's going to be February. So now a SpaceX ship is going to take them back instead. But it's going to take like 6 months for that to happen when an already pre-scheduled mission is set. So the SpaceX Dragon mission is already going on, and it's supposed to come to an end in February 2025. So that is like a 4-person craft. So basically, like, NASA's like, fuck Boeing Starliner. That's going to come back unmanned. We don't trust that ship to bring these 2 astronauts home safely. Yeah. So now the SpaceX ship is going to go to the space station, and the 2 astronauts are going to have to like suit up and get over to that new spaceship and take the SpaceX ship home.
Yeah. Elon is like that hot guy in the bar that saves the girlfriend in front of her boyfriend. Like if some other dude in the bar was giving the girl trouble and the boyfriend is just like, I don't know what to do. And then Elon comes in and is like, I'll save you, and just fucking knocks the guy out.
He loves being that guy.
He's just sliding in to the space DMs.
Absolutely. And it's like, it's also like kind of, in some ways, I feel kind of like good about myself just knowing like I don't work at Boeing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like I'm kind of like, when you think you're bad at your job, just like remember Boeing and just remember like how bad this year has been for Boeing.
Yeah.
Like
the doors coming off, the
everything
engines
that could
failing,
go wrong is going
planes
on.
nose diving, space shuttles, fucking helium balloon leaks, just, we're gonna die.
Yeah. And it's also like, I don't know what being in space does to the human body. I do know, obviously, it takes time for them to like
realize they're gonna die.
Well, yeah, maybe. I think they feel pretty astronauts prepare for this. You know, it does suck that you plan to do a 9-day mission.
Yeah.
And now it's gonna be like you're been in space for like a year.
Yeah.
But I think like astronauts are kind of crazy and they do prepare to die, right?
Yeah.
I feel like any astronaut prepares to die.
There's a part of you that goes into space
We've
thinking
seen it happen.
We could easily die
Yes.
if something goes wrong.
Exactly.
We're just gonna float away in our spacesuits with a bottle of Hennessy or fucking
like the
whiskey,
movie
whatever,
Gravity.
and
wow.
you just you have it funneled into your spacesuit so you can be drunk dying in space.
Yeah, and so, but it's just like I think when you return to Earth, you have to like. I feel like I'm missing the word, but you have to like
acclimate.
Yeah, reacclimate
to the pressures.
Yeah, and
you're also younger, right? Technically,
yeah,
when you're out in
like,
space,
and you like
by like
get
a few seconds or
skinnier
something.
and stuff. Like I don't know, but probably because
Sounds
you're
sick.
eating
It's like a diet. It's like going on a fucking fitness routine in space. You come back younger. You come back 10 pounds lighter.
Yeah. So I don't know, like. They didn't look good. I saw a video of them maybe like a month ago, and they were like, yeah, we're like fine.
Yeah. Boeing's had a gun to their head, like,
good.
fucking say everything's okay.
Yeah. Can you imagine, though, like being stuck in space for like a year when you thought it would be like a couple weeks?
Here's the question, though. Are they both single?
They are now.
Then you can, yeah, exactly.
They are up there.
How long?
Rules don't apply in space.
I was gonna say here's a serious question. Let's say you go up into space. I have a wife. You have a wife. We both have life partners. And let's say we're each in a situation where, let's say you're in a space shuttle. And you're up there, and there's another woman on the shuttle she's attractive. Like maybe you thought, like, if I was single, I would have hit that. But you're just like on a space mission together. Mm-hmm. Same thing with me, where I'm on a space shuttle, and there's another woman there, and I'm like, oh, she's attractive, but like I have a wife. I've never really thought about it. How long do you need to be stranded in space before you justify it to yourself, where you're like, well, I mean, we're not, technically together anymore. Like, is it a year? Is it like
I don't
4
know.
years? Like how long could
4 years.
imagine you're stranded in space like in
What
the
am
future.
I doing in space for 4 years?
Going to
Like,
Mars, going to the sun, repairing the sun like
Zach, I
like
can't
Cillian
even
Murphy.
fathom this shit. Like I can't fathom that. Like this is already bad enough, but I do feel like these two astronauts, like a year is kind of like, it seems okay. Like a year is like, they've been busy. They've been communicating with the NASA team, the Boeing team, SpaceX team. Like they're staying busy and focused. Like when you start getting into 4 years, you're not even the same person. Okay. Who I was on Earth is not who I am in the galaxy. Okay.
I think anything over like a year, once you get into 2 years stranded in space, like I think I could make it like somewhere in a year and a half to 2 years before I'd have to just send a message to my wife and be like, I'm going to blow my brains out if I don't come inside something. So I'm doing this for us. I need to cheat on us for us. I need to do this. But the spaceship is filling up with so much cum from me jerking off 4 times a day. I need to put it inside someone.
Do you think that though? Like, I mean, we were just talking off air about how like we like being more in a relationship and being physically intimate. Like, obviously you would form some sort of relationship with your coworker, right? But does that mean like, you know, it's not necessarily likely that you find them like super hot and you're like having the best time of your life.
I think it's more just about a release at that point because you're not going to have any drugs.
You can masturbate.
You can, but how long is that gonna?
You just see like my vibrator like floating, floating by.
Yeah, and you see jizz.
I'm like, oh, sorry.
Yeah, and I'm in the other room. You just see like jizz droplets, just like going through the stream.
Zach, I told you to hang or like
I'm
you
like,
gotta
my bad.
catch that.
I was aiming for the space toilet. My bad. Just you just got to hit the eject button and suck all the cum out of the spaceship every 3 days.
That's so crazy.
But I do think it's about a release where you're basically in a claustrophobic chamber for, let's say, a year and a half, 2 years.
I mean,
you've jerked off, you can only jerk off so many times a day. There's probably not that much to work on after a certain point. You're just waiting to get saved. You're eating tubes of toothpaste. You're not getting pleasure out of food. You're not getting pleasure out of drugs. There's probably no alcohol or fucking weed. Like you can't smoke in space. Yeah. So the only thing left is like you're just sitting in a room with someone and
like books.
It's almost like
audio
you're playing. It's almost like you're playing Operation, where you're like, where can I like put my penis to fucking like push a pleasure center? And you're just like, I guess maybe we'll just space fuck until we get saved in the meantime.
I mean, to each their own. I think, if you were stuck there for years, like, I think you can't be held accountable. Yeah. Personally.
It's a zip code rule. You're in space.
That's what I'm saying. Like, who I am on land is not who I am in orbit. Yeah. Okay? Like, you can't hold me accountable for that.
Yeah, exactly. If my dick is upside down, it's not thinking the same way as if I'm anchored to Earth.
I guess
gravitational
like your
force.
dick would always be up if you were floating in space because it would just like float up, right?
That's a good point. It would be like
it would
soft
be flaccid,
hard. It would be like soft
it would
hard.
be floating up.
Yeah, it would never be. Yeah,
it was not floating down. You have to, unless you're obviously wearing like underwear and stuff.
You wouldn't have the droop. No. Yeah, that would take some getting used to. Just being like soft hard all the time. Just not
like you're like running
weight.
Into like stuff with it. Like, oh, whoops.
Yeah, I mean it'd have to be very close, within like 2.7 inches.
Yeah, because our hair would be out.
Yeah.
Your penis would be out.
Can't you press the button though, that like in the movies where it goes and then the gravity comes back?
I don't know.
Or
I don't
is that not
know.
A thing?
That's
is there no
what
gravity
I'm saying,
button?
Zach. Like I actually don't know the reality of like what does go on a spaceship versus like have I just watched too much Dune? Yeah.
That's all my space knowledge is coming from Interstellar.
Movies.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just assumed like after day 3, I'd be sending video messages back to the people I love on Earth, like Matthew McConaughey.
I did watch Well, did you watch the newest season of Black Mirror?
Some episodes. I saw
Because it was
Miley
short,
Cyrus and
right?
shit. Yeah.
I thought that was that's the
Could have
older
been older,
season.
yeah.
Hold on. Black Mirror. There was a new season that came out.
If it was recently, I haven't seen it.
It came out last summer. And it was like 5 or 6 episodes.
Whichever one was the Miley Cyrus season, that was the last season I've seen.
So there's one I think it's called Beyond the Sea. And it's really similar to kind of what we're talking about, where, these 2 astronauts, it was 2 men this time, though. They go and they're like stuck in space.
Yeah.
Now, since it's Black Mirror, it's like kind of fake, obviously. So in Black Mirror, the concept was like they had the ability to like kind of like VR, like they could go into like
Is this
an
like
alternate
Brokeback Mountain,
reality.
but in space?
No, it was like they were not gay for each other at all. But the thing is that like they could go into like they could put on like this headset and basically go back home, but like their bodies were still in space.
So they'd feel like they were in their house.
Yes, and they could like communicate and stuff like with their family that was there. And
But what would the family see? Would they see a hologram of someone?
They would see them, but like it would not
Or is this
be
like a hologram?
Kind of, I think.
Okay.
And so like spoiler alert, but like I said, it came out a year ago, so watch it. But like the one guy was married and had like a life, and the other guy did not. And so, but the guy felt bad. The one that was married kind of felt bad that like he didn't have really anything to like go to. So he was like, you can like, borrow
My wife.
Well, that wasn't
virtual
in the
fuck my wife.
agreement, but like it was kind of like you can borrow like my headset just so you can go and like feel like a person.
Yeah.
But then that kind of ends up happening.
Yeah.
And it was just so crazy and then they got obviously in like a fist fight, stuff like that. But it was just interesting.
You headset fucked my wife's pussy. What the fuck? And he's like, no,
Yeah.
it was just, I was holding a fleshlight. It wasn't actually her. I was just virtually fucking her. And
because he was like hitting on her. And it was sad though, because it was like, that's kind of the thing also to tie it all together. It's like, it's kind of sad. That's why I say you can't hold me accountable for what I do in orbit, because it's like, he didn't really want to do that. It wasn't like he wanted to like, just like fuck his wife. It was more like he was so lonely and just was desiring any form of connection.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think like as a guy, I think it's more about just like you've gone so long without it that any connection is making you feel like you can go another day.
Yeah, you kind of start. Yeah,
it's either
your
that
mind
or,
is
it's
playing
either that or
tricks
blow
on
your
you.
brains out, or like fucking I'm gonna evacuate myself into space.
Yeah,
and fucking like I'll rip one more toothpaste tube. I'll jerk off one more time.
Yeah.
I would say do a shot, but there's no alcohol on a plane, on the spaceship. But you're just like, that's the only thing saving you from blowing your brains out as a guy, is the possibility of getting pussy. Like not even real pussy. It's like virtual pussy.
Virtual is better than nothing.
Which if I was the friend,
if you were getting virtual pussy, I would get virtual pussy all the time.
Yeah,
because it's virtual and it's not real.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, if I'm the single friend in that scenario, seeing the married dude's life and living that life, I would, assuming it's a thing where like you could pick your own avatar or like change things on your virtual body, I would just give myself such a laughably big cock, even like to the point where the wife's like, I was into this, but I don't know if I could fit that virtual dick inside of me.
They go and they look the same.
They look the same.
Like
okay.
They don't pick a avatar character.
Okay, I can't like swap cocks with Terry Crews.
I know that's like a dream that you would have, but unfortunately, technology is not that
just
advanced.
To be an average size white man with just a thick black cock in the virtual
and
world.
It's like not the same. Yeah, you're white, but your penis is black.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot of dreams out there.
Yeah, that would be something that I would definitely explore in the virtual world, is being like, sometimes you see those bagels where it's like the plain bagel, but it's pumpernickel. That would be my cock.
Would you explore being a woman? I think I would explore if I could pick like an avatar, like I could like be a guy. I would virtually explore being a guy.
I feel like I would want to explore what it's like to be a woman if I could feel the womanly feelings. But if it was just my consciousness, if I'm a man consciousness in a woman's body, I guess that would be kind of cool. But
I can look at myself naked.
Exactly. Yeah. I'd just be like fucking flopping my titties around all day, just like whipping them around in the mirror. The first thing I would do is just get a mirror and like fucking stare at my pussy and, you know, be like, I wonder what this
teenage girl does.
Yeah. And that would be like me as a 35-year-old man is like going through the teenage girl experience. But I would want to be able to make myself have an orgasm as a female, though, just to feel like what is it like? Because as a guy, you always hear like, you know, the waves where when a girl comes, she's just like, she's ready to go as soon as it happens. It's not like a guy where you sort of come and you get tired and like you have to recharge and then you go again. I would just want to feel the differences in the orgasm, just to be like, I know what it feels like to be a woman, just fucking just going to town. And then it fucking happens and I'd be like, oh, that's what it's like. I feel like a thing would snap into my brain that would just make me better at sex, where I'm like, oh, I know, you know what it's almost like being inside the engine.
The thing is, I think like as a woman, it's all about like thought. Like it's not actually about like a physical action. Like even when you're with your partner, you have to like start disassociating. You have to, and this is like not just a me thing. I just saw a TikTok about it the other day, and like so many women were commenting. It was like, yeah, like you have to start drifting away. You have to focus.
You have to get as far away from the in-person reality to be able to come as a woman.
That's the thing. You do. Like you kind of,
I have to forget about this person in front of me in order to get off.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. And it's nothing personal. It's just like we actually have to find like an alternative reality. Yeah. Like we have to find the space in between what's going on presently and like what's in our mind.
So you're
find that happy place.
So you're disassociating to come, which is hilarious because guys will disassociate not to come. We'll be like, I'm thinking about my fucking grandma sitting on the couch with her rug.
Do you guys actually think about that stuff? Because I think I would immediately go soft if you like thought of you had to think of something like so unappealing to get you to stop nutting. Like,
I've tried it a couple times and it doesn't make you go soft because there's just so much going on.
Your body is stimulated
to keep you there. Yeah, exactly. Now it's more like being present is the way to ward off the early coming. It's like sometimes you put too much pressure on yourself. Like, I have to last, 5 more minutes, or I have to make this, last this much amount of time, rather than just being like, whatever happens. As I've gotten older, I'm just like, whatever happens.
Yeah.
Whatever. And that's going to be the best experience, is just trying to be present in the moment.
And I feel that too.
And before, like earlier in my life, like college or early 20s, I would be more like, I got to be a machine. I got to be fucking locked in and, pound. And even if I finish, I don't even need to fucking rest. I could just fucking go again no matter what. And I'd be like, I need to just like fight through the
sensitivity. Cool getting older and
I'm a
being
sex
like,
robot.
It actually doesn't matter that much. Like just be in the moment.
Yeah.
And like whatever.
Yeah.
It makes it all so much more enjoyable. Not worrying about like what the other person thinks. Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest problems, is like people are constantly worrying about like, what is my counterpart thinking? What do I look like right now? You got to stop that shit and just be like, whatever.
I don't think guys really think about that as much. If anything, like the thoughts are kind of important, but I feel like it's more of a primal thing where we're just locked in. And sometimes you can dissociate, or like not dissociate, but like you're just trying to think about other stuff to make it last longer. But like our brain is just so naturally just focused on the naked woman in front of us.
Yeah.
Where like we can't, like even if we wanted to think about something else, it's just like there's a 7-minute timer on our brain that's like, until we come, we can't think about it. Wow. My apartment could be burning down.
Interesting.
And I wouldn't stop. Like my girlfriend would have to be like, our apartment's burning down, and pull me out of her.
She's
We're
like,
gonna die.
Hello?
I'd be like, no, fucking, I can finish. I can do it. 2 more minutes. Come on.
Yeah.
And like, I would be feeling the heat like burning me on my shoulder, and like I'm starting to get third-degree burns. I'm like, no, I can do it. I can do it. Like, it's such a tunnel vision, primal instinct that like that's what it feels like. Like, imagine you're a gorilla.
Okay.
And
I'm imagining.
There's a banana a block away from you.
Okay. I can smell it.
And
I can smell the potassium.
There's all these things, just like these thoughts bouncing into your head before you see the banana, like anxiety, stress of life. There's people talking to you,
banana,
text, and then you see banana, and then it just all fades away, and it makes a dark tunnel vision to the banana, and you're just fucking sprinting to the banana. And once you eat the banana and you finish, you're like, oh god damn, that banana was good. But then all the
stuff comes
the anxiety
back.
started to come back. That the I feel like the thoughts go away for a little bit, and then they start to come back in.
Yeah.
Once you finish.
You know what? I just had a thought. We're like doing this podcast, and we always kind of get on this topic for some reason. I'm like, what if we just change it? We just start doing a sex ed podcast.
We should.
We're like every Wednesday we do like a 20-minute sex ed podcast.
Yeah, we could do like a segment like the
where
sex
we learn,
ed tip of the week.
So many people I think have these questions.
Yeah,
and we're here for you to answer them, or at least pose the question out loud.
And I feel like there is a Venn diagram where the straight guy lesbian sexuality intersects. Like there's the areas outside the middle, but then there's also like the middle.
I mean, we like ladies,
where the things come together.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that could be a good future segment. We have something in the future about just teaching our listeners about sex.
Right now, though, it's just Suni and Butch up there having their own sex ed in outer space.
They're going to teach us. There's going to be some videos dropping. Maybe they should start an OnlyFans, the first ever OnlyFans from space. And
the government
zero
like
gravity
off.
Fucking
Sponsored by NASA.
Yeah. And then Elon would come in and be like, SpaceX will give you a better deal.
I bet they would.
Come to SpaceX. And there's like a OnlyFans account brought to you by SpaceX where you just have like zero gravity butt plugs, just fucking, you're eating pussy upside down. Like, you like, literally,
you could get into would be insane.
That would be nuts. I would subscribe to that for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of shorter segments, we could definitely do a sex ed segment in the future. I thought this could be like a fun few minute segment to end off the podcast. So I stumbled upon the top 100 asked questions on Google so far in 2024. I don't remember how this came up, but like I saw an article. It's like, do you want to know the top 100 questions asked in this year? And I was like, fuck yeah. And then I clicked on it, and not what I was expecting.
Okay.
So these are not all in order of like 1 through 10, but I picked out some of the ones that just caught my eye that were in the top 100. And if they're in the top 100, these all have like hundreds of millions of people plugging these in 2024. This is global. So the first one is, what time is it? People are asking Google, what time is it?
If you're on a piece of technology, it usually has the time on the screen.
That's what I was thinking. You're on your laptop, you're on your phone, somewhere where you could see the time in the corner.
Yeah.
This was like number 2 on the top 100 questions asked. The next one that caught my eye is, where my refund? Not where's my refund, where my refund.
Where my refund,
literally,
bitch.
where my refund.
I feel that way come tax season.
And I typed that into Google, and what came up was taxes.
Yeah.
And also like Macy's fucking shit, where it's like, this is how to get a refund from Macy's or fucking Bloomingdale's, whatever. But a lot of it was like the tax related stuff. So I'm guessing that's what it was, like April.
I get that.
The next one was How I Met Your Mother, which is not a question. It's the name of a TV show, obviously, and that was in the list.
But it starts with how.
But it starts with how. The next one is Who Am I?
Yeah.
So that's a mushroom
That's an
question for sure.
existential question.
That's a guy that went down a mushroom
I
rabbit
ask
hole.
myself that a lot.
The next one is what is Hamas? And that's, it's an important thing to know nowadays. Is
Yes.
you want to know, who you're fighting, who's, who are the
You got to educate yourself on like
who are the global tastemakers out there, like Hamas.
Israeli-Palestinian war.
Yeah.
So.
These two were back to back. I thought this was really funny. It was like number 45 and 46 on the list. So it's like people searching these right after, like one after the next. It's how did Matthew Perry die? And then how to make French toast. So a lot of people are out there like, I wonder how that guy from Friends died. And then like, I'm kind of hungry now that I'm thinking about it. How do you make French toast?
So he died from ketamine, right?
In the bathtub or something.
Well,
I think
it's
it was
also
like
just recent news because he was in a hot tub.
hot tub. Yeah.
But he was using ketamine as like therapy,
Yeah.
which people do safely. But his doctors were like giving him more.
Yeah.
Or
He had the MJ doctor
so they
that was
got
just
like
shooting him
that
up.
just happened in the news recently where the
Yeah.
doctors got like disbarred or whatever.
Yeah.
And like,
And people were wondering, how did he go out? And then they were like, also,
how do I make French toast?
how many eggs do I need for if I'm slinging toast into my mouth? So
I think that's valid.
and then the last one that caught my eye is what is OnlyFans? And I think that's valid because there
Everybody's grandma is like on the computer. Like,
what is OnlyFans?
I hear my sweet grandson talking about OnlyFans.
40,000 a month for my feet. I think I can do that.
Wow, I wish. Hey, shit.
There's a lot of people out there that during the pandemic they're questioning their careers. They're saying,
Me
"What makes
right now.
What makes you happy? What do I want to spend my time doing?"
I want to not what makes me happy. I want to know what makes me money. Where my refund, bitch.
to get to the happiness. Boom! No refunds on OnlyFans. Though,
No
if
refunds.
you start one, if you
You're not
sign
getting
up,
a refund.
Yeah, 100%.
That money's going right in my
but
pocket.
a lot of people are like, hey, OnlyFans is an option. I want that financial freedom. I want to be able to work from wherever. And, that's a valid question. What's OnlyFans? I've been hearing a lot about this site, and
You got to educate
I'm going to
yourself.
find out.
I
Yeah.
like people educating themselves. The time one I don't get because obviously.
What time is it? Again, that was
I
like
just don't
number
get it.
2 or 3. What time is it? Where are my refunds? Probably my favorite.
Maybe are they, but it was just what time is it? It wasn't a lot of times I will Google like what time is it in London or like
Yeah.
what time is it in India right now?
Just what time is it was all that was there. So
Is that all? I mean, you know what? That's a mushroom question too.
it could be someone that was maybe a sports fan where it's like, what time is it? Game time.
Yeah.
What time is it?
Flava Flav just like
Yeah.
answers.
Yeah. Yo, it's
This
4
clock.
o'clock in the morning, shorty.
Yes.
What's up? I'm
Yes.
Flava Flav.
You know what time it is? It's football Sunday.
Yes.
First football Sunday of
Yes.
the NFL.
Yeah.
My Ravens lost on Thursday. That's okay. I'm
It's
not
a long
worried about
it's
it.
a long season.
Exactly. Should have won though.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Well, good luck to all the football fans out there.
Yep.
I have for UFC fans out there, I'm going to be tuning in next weekend to the Sean O'Malley and Marab fight. So that's another exciting thing
It's about
coming
to
up on
be
Saturday.
baseball postseason soon.
Yup.
It's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And we'll be here.
We'll be here for all of it. And, when you need a break from the competition and you're like, hey, I want to listen to a podcast that's above the competition. Nothing else could compete with this show because it's just in a league of its own.
Mm-hmm.
Tune into Breaking Takes. Rate us on YouTube, Spotify, or you can't rate on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube. You could try to rate us.
You can like us.
You can like us. Yeah, that's considered a rating. Subscribe so you get new episodes. Rate us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Go to breakingtakes.supercast.com for bonus episodes. If you've been listening since the beginning, since the inception of episode number 1 or just an early episode, thank you so much for tuning in and for making it through all of the ins and outs of the show, our sexual rants. Maybe it'll become a regular segment. I'm not sorry. People need to be educated and we're the ones to do it.
I think so.
We're in the pool, we're doing work and we want to share that work on, you know, the main feed, and we're happy to educate those people. So thank you for tuning in, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Happy episode 50.
Happy episode 50.
Let's go.
Bye.
Bye.